Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to Speaking of Schmoedown, a sports talk show devoted to the movie trivia Schmoedown. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Go around the horn here real quick. We've got ASG from Let's Get Ready Network. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good.
We've got Tim Sim, a great writer in the Schmoedown world. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. Thanks.
And of course, Double D. Man, I forgot to go to you first, Double D, because,
You always forget me, Jay. I'm going to spit back you when I come to Ohio.
That's fine, man. Hey, who knows? I may make it to Chicago before you make it to Ohio.
Hey, make it more convenient for me.
No problem. I will take it, my man. But we are going to get into our first segment here, which is talking about the week's matches, but we've made a little game out of it real quick. I got a graphic for you guys. And also, I will say we had another technical difficulty with stereo this week. I do have it figured out. So next week, we will be back on stereo. This week, we are not. Sorry about that. What we will do is each match has a time limit. Who knows what it is, but we'll get through them. Frenchie is in the back with a timer, and we will have periodic eliminations, meaning whoever is talking when his timer goes off will be out of the game, taken off screen. And the winner of this starts the interview with Thomas Harper today. And then we go in order. Whoever came in second place comes in second, and the first person out comes in last. That is how we do our game here, Hot Matches. And let's get into it, because as I said, we got Thomas Harper on today. I don't know. I wasn't surprised by the outcome because of all the hype. I've fallen for the hype that has been built up around Thomas Harper. Witt played a hell of a match. It was a really good match, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I was never kind of impressed with Adam Witt's performance in this Schmoedown, but this is like the first time he's actually played really good. I mean, out of 31 possible points, he scored 28. So, and the last highest point that he scored was 19. So it's definitely a better improvement. And I mean, I'm really excited to see what he can do further on in the season.
Yeah, Zach Burkett, I'm concerned after watching that performance.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when you talk about, Thomas Harper, I mean, he's definitely coming in with basically from a military background and doing, really amazing stuff. And I'm just looking at, some of the numbers that I've written down. I mean, basically he starts off right off the gate with a perfect round, getting the bonus question for 11 points, and then going near perfect with the Empire Strikes Back for his second round category for, only 9 points out of the possible 10, going only multiple choice only once.
Yeah.
Even with, going perfect round for his Rogue One questions, and then pretty much, going the entire way, for Harper with his 2, 3, and 5-pointer. 5-pointer being almost, challenged, but then again, he definitely, still got the answer right. And I mean, this has been an amazing debut for Thomas Harper, and I think, basically by going up against well-rounded vet in Adam Witt instead of like a
save you, Tim, because I have a feeling that thing could go off any second, and I don't want you to get screwed on your first.
That's fine, yeah,
you have to kind of let other people kind of talk. So that way you don't.
No, it's fine. It's fine. At first, I was sitting here playing some strategy, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll just sit." But then I was like, "I can't do that."
No, if Frenchie's going to be yelling at me, he's got to be yelling at you.
I know what's going to happen, but did anyone ever think that Harper was ever stumped on any questions? Like, I never got the sense that he was truly stumped on anything.
Well, when a rookie uses a JTE, you never know whether that means they're stumped or not. So I was slightly concerned in the 5-pointer, but
I was kind of worried about that first question in round 2 because he went to multiple choice, and even I was going, well, it's not death, and sure enough, that was the right answer. So then he got it. So I would have got, and I watched the Star Wars division really closely, so I definitely would have gotten that one wrong. So I'm glad that he didn't read my mind at that time. But that was like the only time I felt like maybe he could have lost a point or something.
It was a great match. It was an absolutely great match, and we will talk about that more with Thomas Harper. So I'm going to go ahead and move us on to the next one, because I am shocked by the Finstock Exchange, I tell you. I'm kind of starting to change my tune a little bit on the Finstock Exchange. I've been really hard on them. I don't have any faith in Fincher himself, but I never really kind of had. I don't know, but I am absolutely shocked and tickled that their strategy is working, especially for Rocha.
Yeah, I think I was proven wrong. I mean, I think Tom Dagnino is actually saying that, yeah, the dossier is working. So he probably knows a lot more than us. Maybe he's channeling some statistics and he's actually using what I'm using for his rookies. And that's how he's able to do it. That's probably what was in the dossier.
I was skeptical about that entire dossier and whether or not it would actually work. I honestly did not believe it would work. It obviously is working, at least to some extent. To what extent, I don't know. I'm excited to keep finding out, though, as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, Khan did great, but I was disappointed in Flickinger. He looked like he was just there as a favor and not wanting to be there. If he's got to either get serious about the game or else I wouldn't really be sad about not seeing him again. But that's just my opinion.
That he's not around after free agency. You guys, what do you think about that?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, definitely, I think Fletcher didn't do well in Festival of Dawn. He's only getting 2 points, but I'm thinking, especially when you're talking about Khan and how he does well in his rookie match. I mean, just to be fair, I mean, rookie versus rookie match, I think are probably not the most impressive. That not as really big as you would as some would state. As well, the only thing that really surprises me is that Khan got it by a TKO, which is really the only thing that surprised me. But it's going to be, down the road. I mean, can these rookies, keep the momentum going when they go up against, tougher competitors and more seasoned competitors? I mean,
for sure. That's why I look more at individual performance rather than.
Well, we have our first elimination.
Oh, thank you. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I'm sitting here on edge for I don't even know how long it's been. I feel like a fucking dog when my owner goes out of town or down to the grocery store. I have no concept of time. I don't know if they're ever coming back or not. That's how.
Yeah. There it goes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just us. So we're hosting the show now.
Yeah, definitely. And let me just say, I mean, whatever's working in FinSock Exchange is really working with these rookies. And I don't know. I mean, Tom Dagnino, he really has a reason for his madness that he did.
Yeah, he seems like he's actually doing a really good job. But let's kind of move on to the last match with Drew McWeeny and Lon Harris. I'll start this out. I actually thought Drew McWeeny would actually pull a win out of this one because we haven't seen Lon really. We've seen him stumble a lot this season. But he pulled out a win. So is it more of ring rust or is it that Lon's getting better?
I think a bit of both. I mean, Lon Harris did very well, especially with what he got. I mean, he's got 6 points in Scarlett Johansson, perfect round in the very first round, and forced McWeeny to try to answer his final round questions. And as for McWeeny, I mean, it's kind of a bit of there's some rust in his. I wouldn't say.
Oh, sorry, Tim. I guess I'm introducing our guest today. So I guess we can bring back everybody, right?
Yep. Oh, man.
Let me just say before I was eliminated that basically I think, Drew McWeeny going by hitting the ground in romance probably wasn't the best move for him because we've seen it's a lot broader than we all thought. So, maybe could have discussed it further with his manager Sam, but I didn't. Yeah. I mean, he'll get his. I think he'll get his bearings back. So I mean, it'll just probably take some time.
Yeah, I mean, after a year of being away from the Schmoedown, you kind of get out of the groove a bit. And also to kind of add to your, I did a bell curve of all the different categories, and I mean, obviously that was actually romance. I think was very, very really specific, it's very wide, so that was probably not a good, as he said, that was to actually experiment.
That's why he's more known for teams, I think. Sam was the strategy player, he was the knowledge, he filled in a lot of the knowledge gaps, and as a solo player he still needs some strategy, gameplay, whatever, I think. But
dude, did anyone else question I don't know what exactly would be what you would question, but just Lon seemed off to me, man. His last teams match, and then he I don't know, man. He seems confused, but it doesn't seem like it's his character sometimes.
Can I chime in? They both seem lost. This and again, we are really, really, really fortunate this season having the most incredible matches. Maybe like a couple seasons ago, this would have been a good match, but this was a letdown. This was in a match. There's no. Something was lacking, and like I said yesterday on my channel, it just I was sorely disappointed. So not only the Lon felt like something was missing, the Godfather as well. It's not a good start.
To me, Lon felt back on his game, except for not knowing what to do when that question was not really phrased in a way. But
let me ask you guys a quick question. Wasn't Ben Goddard and JT supposed to air last night? Or did that?
Yes. I think there was a bit of a editing snafu. I think when I was talking to some of the people over there, it's supposed yesterday was supposed to be McWeeny versus Harris, and I think next week will be the one next Friday.
Yeah, that's what it says on the schedule. But I remember Grace announcing all that list, and I wrote them all down, and because we have a fantasy league, and I have both JT and Ben Goddard, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna win some points this week, and then I'm like, wait a minute, JTE and Ben Goddard are not facing each other this week. What the hell?
Yeah, it was on Facebook the week before. They were like, we're gonna swap the matches.
Now let me ask you this: is the reason why they swapped the matches because Lon and Drew McWeeny was kind of lacking, so they kind of pushed that up forward. They can have JT and Ben Goddard maybe a little bit hyper, a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
I don't know. If I were to quote unquote hide a Friday match, I would do it as the match before free for all, because everybody's just going to be talking about free for all.
Sure.
But I don't. I'm not one of those entertainment professional people to know how to do that kind of thing. So maybe my logic is incorrect.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's why I thought when Tim was saying that, I'm like, that's the question that popped in my head. So I just thought maybe Christian was kind of doing some switching around just to kind of hype up something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know. But then again, I think having Goddard versus JTE as the probably appetizer before the big event, the free for all is probably a good choice if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very new school, old school matchup.
Yeah. I don't know about. Hold on, let me go back to the schedule here. I was just looking at it. What was I gonna say? Oh no, that's next week. Sorry about that. That's next week. Anyway, I had something awesome to say, but I'll save it for next week because next week we'll have another Den member on. This is like the month of Den. Thomas Harper today will be with us here a little bit later, and then Jess Schloth will be with us next week. But as far as I do want to go back to the Finstock Exchange here, and dude, I don't know, maybe it's just me and I can't get over it, and I'm just in disbelief, and I think that everyone else should be in disbelief. Am I the only person that thinks that so far this should be the story of the year, that the really funky, odd-looking draft that Finstock Exchange made seems to be paying off big time so far?
I'm gonna probably channel my inner Frenchie. You're not wrong, because you're not wrong because I mean it is working. Other than even with Brother Loomis, he missed. He had a bad third round, but he had he won that third round, he would have won the match. So it seems that I mean, I remember weeks ago when we were saying who won the draft. I mean, I was saying, oh, Finstock, yeah, he's an idiot, he's a moron. Exactly what everyone else was saying, and now it's like, yeah, he did a good job.
Well, I'd say for now, what we know so far is that they haven't crashed and burned, which was a thing that could have happened, especially after Barbarian lost. But we still haven't seen, like, what's going to determine faction titles is title shots and going deep in tournaments. And so
Yeah.
that's really where the big test will come is.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think, I wouldn't say that's the story of the year yet. I mean, there's still possibilities of other storylines that could really, jump out at, such as, with the dungeons, top heavy competitors. And, Danmo already won the singles championship back. Mark Knopfler won the Interkingdom championship back. And we still have to see from other heavy hitters such as, Ben Bateman, making his bigger strides ahead. And who knows? I think basically for the dungeon, there could be more ahead to come, especially in the tournaments, and they could possibly dominate, and maybe even more than the Finstock Exchange. But like ASG said, if they can, do well in the tournaments, I think the Exchange could be, much more well regarded, just with the really interesting draft that they pulled off.
Yeah, especially since Gold Leader could technically go against every single Dragon Con player this tournament. And that would
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah. You had said heavy hitter, Tim, and the heaviest hitter, in my opinion, this season in the entire Schmoedown community is ASG's refrigerator, dude. That is a bomb ass fridge, man. It's beautiful. I mean, for real, it's absolutely gorgeous, dude. What make, model, and year is that thing, dude?
I don't know when I bought it from Best Buy.
It's gorgeous, dude. Wait.
You compliment him on his fridge, but you never compliment on my fridge. We're the fridge people, but he gets the props.
Well,
mine's superior.
Co-host last.
Oh, okay, that's how it is. ASG. All right.
On him, I don't know. I was just following orders, I guess, or nice refrigerator though, man. For real, it's pretty dope. I like it. What's in it?
Bachelor food.
Let's take a look. We're going off track here for a second. Hey, man, show us like open it up real quick. What do we got in there, man? We got beer.
Well, we talked about pizza last week. I might as well
frozen pizzas and popsicle. Oh wait, that's my refrigerator.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very similar.
At least for my fridge, I tried to reduce the number of leftovers I keep. Trying to be.
Yeah, I try to eat everything that I cook or anything I order. I try to keep. I try not to have any leftovers. I don't have to do dishes that way. I learned that little trick. But mostly it's just like water, liquids, and stuff, and basically anything I can just toss out at the end of the week.
Hey, let me bring it back around to Schmoedown. You know those toasters where you can have the your sports logos or like Darth Vader burnt on there? Dude, let's get it skybound. Let's get a toaster that puts the Schmoedown logo in the side of our toast, dude. I would buy that. I'd buy that for real. Let's
or
get
better yet, on our burgers, the burger buns. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I've seen some restaurants where they actually put their name on the bun, and I'm like, oh, this is nice and fancy. And it's just getting an iron and just burning it. That's all it is, really.
I think Paul Preston broke us last week, everybody. He got us into this big pizza conversation, and we've just continued it into food in general this week. Although I will say again, that is a lovely, lovely refrigerator behind you, ASG. But yes, Frenchie, we are off the rails. But we're going to get back on now because everybody, it is time for hold on. Yeah, this one.
I'm going to talk dirty to you for a second. Math.
Yes, it is time for Double D's sexy numbers. Dan, what do you have for us today?
Okay, so Free for All is next week, and as you said, SG, everybody's going to be talking about it. So one thing that we do know is because there's not much that we do know. We don't know who's going to be in it. We don't know who the order of competitors that are going to be coming out. But I wanted to do something special, and I wanted to know. We all know that competitors pull numbers out of the bucket, and that's the order of their. That's the order that they're coming out as. So the one thing I want to know two things. Is I want to know what is the lowest number a competitor can pull and still win the free for all. The second thing I want to know is what is the highest number a competitor can pull and get the MVP. So for this, now obviously I'm not going to use all 40 competitors because that's impossible. So I want to pick 5 competitors that I think most likely are going to be in the free-for-all. That's going to be Ethan Irwin, Dan Murrell, Brendan Meyer, Adam Collins, and William Viviani. So I used all the past free-for-alls for this data. That includes the horror free-for-all last year to compile this data, and this is what I found out. Most competitors can survive an average of 3 rounds. The standard deviation is 4 rounds. Now, what that means is you have your average, and above average would be somewhere between 4 and 7 rounds. Superior competitors would last somewhere between 8 and 11 rounds, and so on and so forth. The problem is that when we go to the other side, when we start taking away from 3 rounds, we're getting into negative numbers, and they're like I have right here. There's no way to have negative rounds in the free-for-all. So we're only going to be focusing on 2 and 1 rounds to be considered below average. Everything else, so it's basically 1 to everything above 1 that is going to be considered. Other things to consider is the highest numbers are the most value. So since there are 40 competitors, 38, 39, and 40 are the most valuable to win the free-for-all. I think that's pretty easy
Makes
to
sense.
understand. Yeah. And obviously, the lower numbers have less value. So as they decrease, they have a decreased value. So this is the graph for all that data that I compiled. The people that are labeled in yellow, those are the MVPs of those free-for-alls. The white labels are just the people that we are looking at. Now, obviously, William Viviani is also labeled as MVP, and he's also included in the people that we're looking at. So Mark Edward Hoyt got the MVP last year for the horror free-for-all, and he survived 7 rounds. Ethan Irwin averages around 8 rounds. John Humphrey got the MVP for the first free-for-all, and Adam Collins won the horror free-for-all, and they both survived 11 rounds, even though I think Adam Collins can actually do much more. Dan Murrell averages around 11.5 rounds. Brendan Meyer appeared only in one free-for-all. That was the last one, and he survived 12 rounds. William Viviani is a beast because he's in a category unto himself. This is what we call an outlier. He won both MVPs in 2018 and 2019, and he survived 21 and 28 rounds respectively. So here's the results of basically all this data, and basically one other thing I forgot to mention is I created a mock free-for-all. So after compiling all this data, I did a mock free-for-all, and here are the results of that mock free-for-all. So to win the free-for-all, Ethan Irwin is looking at getting the number 30 or higher. Dan Murrell and Brendan Meyer are looking to get the number 22 or higher. Adam Collins is at least getting 20, has to hope for get 24 or higher. And of course, William Viviani can get any number and he'll be fine. He's most likely to win. Now, obviously, this is just an estimate, but he can get any number and I think he'll be fine. But MVP is a little bit different. With MVP, Ethan Irwin is looking the highest number they can get is 28, because if he gets any higher, he's looking at other people. Maybe William Viviani is getting 27, and he has much more of an advantage, and everyone else has a better advantage. But just looking at himself and looking at that average of other competitors with surviving at least 3 rounds, he's looking at 28 being the highest number for him. Once again, Dan Murrell and Brendan Meyer are looking at 23 being their highest. Adam Collins is his highest number they can pull and still get MVP is 26. And William Viviani is at a low 22 points. Now, the reason why I say that is because if you get any higher, there are less chances for him to actually survive less rounds. There's more rounds, I should say, more rounds. And here's another thing to keep in mind. They have to hope, so the individual competitors have to hope their opponents get higher numbers than theirs, and competitors need to survive till the last round. So there are other ways to get those to figure out these numbers. But of course, these are my mock drafts, so I'm just kind of pulling information and making up assumptions. But essentially, that's what we do in statistics. We try to make up assumptions and just go along with it.
Sorry, when you say survive to the last round, you're saying to get MVP, they need to survive to the.
Yes, to get an MVP, they need to survive to the last round. So they have to. So if Ethan Irwin gets 28, and let's say William Bibiani gets, let's say 30, Ethan Irwin has to survive all the way through till the 40th competitor, and at that point he can probably get eliminated, and he can probably maybe he will probably get in contention for that MVP award. But if William Bibiani gets lower, like if he gets like 2 or 3, well, you better hope that he gets out really quickly, because then things can be a little bit more difficult for the other competitors. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think if you started early and maybe didn't make it to the last round, but still lasted all the way, it's also very dependent on how everybody else does.
True.
So, there's a lot of factors in there. And
exactly. That's why you have to try to make it as small as possible, so that way you deal with as very few variables as possible. And that's why I only kept it with 5. So
yeah. So also, how many people were in each of the free-for-alls in previous years? I'm just curious.
Oh, okay. So the first one was 35, the second one was 48, and the last one was 40. But interestingly enough, I think Sam Levine was one of the last ones to win the free-for-all in the first one. Brianne Chandler won the second one, and she was 44. And Dan Murrell, I think, was one of the last ones as well in the third free-for-all.
Okay.
But Adam Collins was actually the 6th competitor, and so he entered in round 2, and he was able to win the whole thing. And Mark Edward Hoy was able to get MVP.
And that's also the interesting thing is, at least previously, and we'll see if they continue with this, you couldn't win and get MVP at the same time.
True. That is true.
So
I dig this, dude. I understand this perfectly as you're going through it. Again, I have my glasses on, so I was definitely reading it. But no, I'm amazed each week how you can pull numbers out. And this thing, I never would have thought that there was a specific spot that they would want to draw and stuff like that. I just never think about that kind of stuff. I'm stuck in the competitive mode where I'm they're asked questions and they answer questions. But
that's why you hired me. That's why Frank Janish recommended me, because I know these numbers. So,
the other thing, I knew Bibiani was dominant. It's even funnier to see it in a graph.
Oh, you can't. Yeah, that's why it's if he gets 22, then people have a chance. If he gets 23 or 24, other people have a chance to get that MVP award. But if he gets 20, 19, 18, 17, it's you're not getting that MVP if he goes all the way through.
Yep. It'll be fun. And that's next week. That's next Saturday. So that'll be a hell of a lot of fun. Thank you very much, Double D and his sexy numbers, ASG. Thank you. Let's bring Frenchie up here, because he and I have our weekly battle that we have called Frenchie's Corner. You've definitely got a couple interesting things here. What are we getting into today, sir?
Well, before we go in, for those people who are watching, I'm looking at the YouTube statistics. There's more watchers than actual likes, so press that like button, please, and subscribe. Don't miss anything. Every week we have amazing guests and amazing content, and guest co-hosts too, like Tim Sim and ASG. So do not miss out. All right, so let's go on to the first one. If I can actually operate my computer perfectly. All right, where are you? All right, this is gonna be an interesting one. Will the exchange rookies have the same win streak against veterans? Because there's a lot of talk right now of Finstock Exchange, and I'm a supporter. I really love what they're doing, but there's also talk of saying, hey, they're winning against the rookies. They're doing good in easier questions. Are they going to hold up with actual, war-proven players? I'm going to start with you. I already know your answer, probably, knowing you grumpy old man, what you think. But what do you think?
Aside from the fact that even if Finstock Exchange did not have so many rookies, aside from that fact, in that Finstock, I don't have much faith in him, no matter who he has on his roster. I just got to say that the way you word this here, rookies when they go up against the vets. I'm sorry, dude, but yeah, Jordan was a veteran and Kobe was a rookie, but Kobe, there's no way in hell he's going to beat Jordan. You know what I'm saying? LeBron, there ain't no way in hell LeBron's going to beat Jordan. It just ain't going to happen, dude. Vets are in a whole. We're talking like a Merle. We're talking Riley. We're talking Roca. We're talking even Stacey Howard. And that's not a knock on her, but I just say that because, man, well, that was a great match, her and Kevin Smith. We're not going to get into that, but holy shit, I was shocked on a couple different levels. Yeah. But I just know, dude, when they start playing the veterans, dude, because it's not all about knowledge, dude. It's all about, it also has to do with keeping calm, your composure, the way, and they have been in the game for so long, dude.
All right, so basically, you're just going on the label with your OCD mind, one straight lane of the rookies. They don't know how to play the game. They don't have experience. Hence, they're not going to go up against the veterans. Well, look at Harper. Look at I don't know, Collins. They were rookies. Harper's still rookie, but it really depends on your game IQ. In general, that type of shit you don't learn. You got it or you don't. And like what I saw with Khan, what I saw with Radis, they have it. They're really good. Have it. They're good. And you're talking about like composure and everything. Most of the rookies, I think they've been so trained and so much in the system of Finstock that they really feel like
that's a good thing, dude. I mean,
it's an amazing. Okay, look, they're winning. They're winning right now, and they're going to continue winning. Okay, but even if we could I let you talk, bro. Even if they continue winning, you'll still be like, oh, they're gonna lose. You're that type of person, like in a horror movie, head starts spinning and there's blood on the wall, and you'd be like, there's no supernatural phenomenon until you die because you ignore the whole facts. That's the same thing. You are going to be in the back of the pack of knowledge because you're not realizing that Finstock, as much as he's a buffoon, he's a fucking genius. Okay.
Yes, comparing Finstock Exchange to a horror movie was perfect because
he's a demon that's gonna rip out your soul, bro.
Because of their managership, dude, Finstock, he's gonna do something, dude, that is gonna blow every good thing that has happened so far, and every good thing that happens up until the point he blows it.
No, it won't, because last year it was ego on the way. You take out ego out of the way. You put a system and you put rookies.
He's ever not going to have ego.
I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about his superstar players, right? There's a lot of ego, too many chefs, too many cooks in the kitchen. You take off the cooks. You only have like one or two cooks, and sous chefs that really help you make the restaurant or your faction, I should say, a higher level. Bro, you got something special, and they have something special. Are they always going to win? All going to win? No.
Put them up against Gordon Ramsay and see what happens. The vet stuff is going to.
I've seen Gordon Ramsay. I've seen Gordon Ramsay do scrambled eggs, and it looks disgusting. Okay, just because you're professional doesn't mean you're always going to win, and just because you're a rookie doesn't mean you don't have the experience to pull out. Am I saying they're going to win all the time? No. but you are underestimating their capacity to learn. Again, Khan, Newman, no one was on. They were not on no one's radar. No one's radar, and now they are on. But
Mance's, Roka's, there's no way that they can compete against those guys, dude.
Mance is not even in the fucking. Anyways,
I'm using examples as vets, dude. Vets of the game, the people who started in the beginning.
But this is an evolution of the game. This is now to the point that you got Khan and Newman that are playing like professionals that have been playing for a long time.
Their management is not.
Oh yeah, it's not. But yet he's definitely higher than a lot of people are expecting, and he keeps surprising people. So if he keeps surprising people and racking up the wins, you're doing something right. So you can play the card. He's crazy.
Wrong that you're saying here, Bill Belichick, dude. Everyone was always like, he's like this great coach. Blah blah blah. Come to find out, it was his players. It was his players who were making him championship teams every year. As soon as his top dogs left, they were done, dude. Bill Belichick ain't nothing without players.
He's still doing better last year. So, hey, all right. So, going on the next subject, and this is gonna be a doozy. Now, can any factions win the championship with their current roster? Meaning, nothing changing. They keep it as it is, and they're gonna win. I'm gonna continue my my annoying streak, and I'm gonna say Finstock Exchange. And
no. None of them can.
Yeah.
None of them can.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying no. I'm not. It's not like I'm saying someone can, but not Finstock Exchange. No, my friend. I'm saying none of them can. Okay, because no, dude. There is going to be there are what 4 free agencies this season. So okay, say Finstock Exchange, they make no changes to their roster all season. There is going to be someone who comes up from the FCL in another faction that will beat up on the Finstock Exchange.
I completely agree that everyone else will change except Finstock Exchange, and for a pure simple reason
that's a good thing for them. That's
a really good thing, because if your system's working right now for the players you have, you exchange the people that does not work well in a team. So far, they are a cohesive team that is cycling in points, cycling in also help together that is working. So you don't take off a part of the element. If it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? For now, Finstock Exchange, it's not broken. The rest you can see, the other faction you can see there's little loopholes, little things that you might need to replace and patch. Them, they have a philosophy of 3 veterans and rookies, and those rookies are patching it well.
Dan is going to back me up with numbers here when he gets to have his 2 cents on this topic. Because, dude, the numbers, it's too great. Like I said, you've got 12 players, but then you're going to be bringing, with the free agencies, the other factions are going to be able to bring in all of these other people, these fresh people. The odds are not in their favor.
I agree to disagree like usual, but personally, they're doing what they need to do. I love what I'm seeing.
They're doing good. The same roster they have now,
and you have a bias against Finstock that I don't know if he gave you wedgies in high school.
I just said, dude, the numbers, the odds are no faction, no faction can keep their drafting roster intact the entire
except for them
and still win the championship. No.
All right. We're chewing off time. Our awesome co-host. So I'm gonna drop out. But I'm right, and I love you, Jay Wade. Bye bye.
Yeah, thanks, man. Now we're gonna bring in Dan ASG and Tim Sim and let them give their thoughts on what Frenchie and I just talked about. And I'm really like Dan, man, I'm going to drop off screen while y'all talk about this. But
first of all, Jay Wade, don't say that I'm going to just agree with you based on numbers, because 1, I don't have numbers prepared, so I don't know right off the top of my head. Having said that, Frenchie, you are right about the first topic about, I forget what the first one was, but the second one about what?
The first topic was the exchange and can they keep winning against vets?
Oh, couldn't they keep winning? No, I don't think they can. I think they can. I think they can, especially if depending on what kind of bets you are going against. I mean, we've seen
Exactly.
with Mark Riley. I don't think Mark Riley was as good. I mean, he was good in the very early seasons, but I just can't see not now because it's just too good. And as far as can the Finstock Exchange keep their faction together and win the championship? No. And it's just simple logic because when someone doesn't, at some point, someone doesn't work. And it's just maybe for whatever reason, you have to change it up. We've seen it with the Quirky Mercs. They did not change anyone last season, and they went down to 5th place. They were rising up. They were getting, I think they were getting as high as 3rd place or 4th place, and they dropped down to 5th. So, so yes, I do agree with you, Jay Wade, but don't make any assumptions because I'm not prepared to back it up with numbers.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's my take. So what is
yeah, I'm thinking especially with the rookies and can they face against some of the tougher competition, and I think maybe one or two of them maybe don't know the names off the top of my head, but I think some of them have a good shot. But yeah, I mean, I think especially when it comes to the exchange, it's when whether or not they need to change a bit on their roster, it's gonna depend on how well these rookies will do against tougher competition once we, especially once we soon learn the schedule for May, which should be like in a few days. I don't know, 7 weeks
usually
away.
they try to do it. Well, in the past they've done it like at the first of the month, but because Grace announced it really early on, so yeah, I think it may be the last week of April.
And I think I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, and I think for when it comes to the exchange, I think they're not going to make any big changes until probably in the middle of the season, and I'm really excited. I don't know. I mean, thinking maybe it could have a good shot, but I think there's some of these competitors in say like the dungeon and maybe even I don't know stars or I don't know probably that one particular competitor in the dungeon that I think they might probably need to drop, but who knows? So just have to see down the road.
Yeah, I think that's with every faction is that if someone's not working, but they see someone from the FCL that's like, hey, this guy's actually can make, or maybe the competitor is actually good, but someone in the FCL is actually doing something better. They're like, hey, let's drop this guy and get this other guy in the FCL. He's crushing it. So it's just kind of swapping it out, so that way you can boost up your numbers just a little bit because it's the better result.
Yeah, and so to go off the exchange topic, yes, Lieberman did well, Kahn did well, Newman did well. However, that we got to see if they're going to do better than they did in their first match. Yes, they did well, but none of them, I don't think any of them had perfect first rounds, and unless if Kahn just did. And that's one question.
Have a perfect round.
Yeah, so yeah, none of them had perfect first rounds, which is something you kind of need if you want to be a top tier contender. And then as far as can anybody, yes, I think the dungeon could. And yes, I think they will cut people and pick somebody up, but I think they could still win the faction title without doing so. Just there's no reason not to. Kind of like.
Well, I'm glad, Dan. At least you agreed with me. Maybe not.
But don't say that. I have numbers to back it up because I'm literally coming in this topic with no numbers. So you're out of luck.
I just feel glad someone supported me. Right now, guys, we're going to bring on Thomas Harper. I'm going to explain to him the rules of the game real quick, and then let Double D take over. Okay, Thomas. So since you've been here last, we have fine-tuned our opening game called Hot Potato. Well, it's a version of Hot Potato called Hot Matches. And whoever is talking when Frenchie's little timer goes off is eliminated, and the last man standing opens the interview with our guest, and the first person eliminated comes in at a later date. Each person, you see what I'm saying?
And if I get eliminated, no interview.
Oh, no. You're really one guaranteed to be on screen. So I'm going to jump off here, and Double D is going to get us started with you.
Sounds good.
All right.
Sorry.
What's
Hollywood
going
Squares,
on?
baby.
madness. It's madness. How you doing, Thomas?
I'm good, Double D. How are you?
I'm doing great. So my first question is now I did say before that I never thought Adam Witt was really good in the Schmoedown, but we saw him like really improve with your match. So going into it, did you think it was going to be an easy win, or did you just not underestimate him? So I'm going to take him as serious as if I was going against Damon.
Yeah, I think it's less that Adam Witt improved and more that he played to his true potential. And I thought from the very start, as soon as the match got announced, well, as soon as I found out that he was the actual opponent, because there was other stuff behind the scenes going on, but I knew it was going to be a really tough match. He said from the very outset, I remember him saying like right after the draft on a stereo show that he wasn't planning on having a match. He didn't think he was going to have a match this season, so he was in the bench coach role, and he was knee deep in prepping Molly for that number one contenders match, writing questions. I think Molly said that he was in charge of writing all their 5-pointer questions. So I knew this was somebody that was not just prepping on a whim and they talk about taking the match last minute. He was fully ready to go, and he showed just how strong I think their prep system is within the faction. We knew that going in, and quite frankly, I'm glad that we had as great a match as we did, because you can't look at that match and say, well, I don't know if Harper really played well because it's Witt and this and that. Like, no, he would have beaten just about everybody in this division with that performance.
Yeah, well, maybe not everybody. There are some that are maybe just slightly better, but I definitely saw a vast improvement. I mean, his next highest score in the Star Wars division, just that specific, was 19 points, and he scored 28. So there was a vast improvement in terms of Star Wars division terms.
Right.
And with my second question is I noticed in your second round, obviously, this is going to be a painful subject, but I am curious. You went to multiple choice on your first round 2 question, and I noticed that you were writing stuff down. What were you writing down? Were you writing the multiple choice questions down, or were you trying to think it out, or what?
I'm a visual guy, so I like I have like a system that I work, and so it would like if I flip the board around, it would probably look like hieroglyphics to the average person. But I'm a big like flowchart type guy, and it just helps me process like what I'm hearing in the information. And so when you talk about like categorizing and stovepiping information, so that I don't get like I'm not thinking about, say, Return of the Jedi when a question like that is asked. That's sort of what helps me fire those neurons. So I couldn't even tell you what was on the board when I wrote that. I know that I had ESB written up top at one point just to remind me that was the category I spun in case I forgot. Okay. But yeah, beyond that, it was just kind of visualizing my thoughts.
All right, we have Simback. He's the next one to join us.
Yeah, it's Hey Thomas. So congrats on getting that big win over a really great match. And yeah, so I was looking at actually the difference between playing in the Star Wars Schmoedown and obviously where you're coming from, the Dragon Con, and especially when you're looking at the Star Wars Schmoedown match. I mean, they're really tough, and especially for me, I mean, I can only get at most 3 out of 10 first round questions every time I tried to play along. And when I was looking at the entrance exam that you have to do if you want to play in Dragon Con, I mean, looking at those questions, after a first glance, I said, screw it, just tear it up, throw it in the recycling bin. So that's just ridiculous stuff. So I'm kind of wondering, so has there been a difference between playing in Dragon Con and maybe playing in the Star Wars Schmoedown, other than maybe just knowing only the movies?
Yeah, I think that's the funny thing. Like, people act like Dragon Con is Wakanda, like it's this impenetrable thing. Like, you can go take the quiz right now online. It's still there. You'll get your score. You can see whether you would have qualified. I'd say if you got 38 or more out of 50, you'd probably make the top 10. The biggest difference for me is the one-on-one nature, because normally I play like a Fatal 10-way is what it starts out as in Dragon Con. So you're up against 9 other people, and you talk about knowing other people's questions and having that moment where you're listening to somebody else say like, man, if I had only gotten those questions. Imagine having that 9 times and then you get around. So that was one adjustment, and then just the little margin for error would be the other one. If you watch this past year, I got probably the most questions wrong that I've ever gotten wrong in Dragon Con, and but you're still in the fight. You survive to another round, and as long as you survive the cut, that's okay. Here, there's not that margin for error. You've got to be on your game. You can't have a mental blip. So that's an adjustment, but that's me versus me. I mean, it's a lot less to do with my opponent than it is just making sure that my mindset's right. Yeah,
especially when talking about having those mental blips. I mean, it comes with having especially when you come into this Schmoedown with a sports athlete mindset, or even for you, Hans Harper, and maybe even for Roka, a military discipline mindset. I mean, given that, of course, I assume that you have experience back in your days in the Army, right? And I'm just kind of wondering, how much did that military mindset, discipline, and focus help you with being able to get those questions right in the highest of pressures?
Yeah, I think the big thing is just helping you focus in. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to be distracted by outside noise. I couldn't tell you what the banter was that was going on in the background. I'm paying sharp attention to what Witt's writing down and saying, because the moment that he slips and gives something, I'm going to challenge that. And I'd say that to any competitor that I face. And, I think being able to box stuff out is really critical, and box stuff out in a high stress, high pressure environment so that you're still performing at your maximum. That's really what I get the benefit of.
Interesting. Yeah.
Sir, how you doing, Thomas?
What's happening? Thanks for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. I want to start by piggybacking off of Tim a little bit. But first, please forgive me for not knowing the exact terminology, but clarify it just so I know. You're a military attorney, correct?
Yeah, JAG.
JAG is is that how one would, if I were going to be like Thomas Harper, yeah, he's a military attorney, I would just say Thomas Harper, he's a JAG?
Yeah, he's a JAG officer, he's a JAG attorney, yeah. Any of those work. Yep.
All right, cool. I just want to be sure, and because I don't want to sound stupid, and
no, not at all.
He does that on a regular basis.
That's so JAG with my, and I don't want to be, and I don't want to say, and you being like, no, that's some stupid TV show fantasy. We're really called this, but no, yeah, okay. Right. But I want to know how your experience as a JAG officer influences your character work, especially in that promo. That promo is great, and I told you behind the scenes that I was a little bit scared of you, man, and you're on our side. But how does that experience influence the character work in Schmoedown?
Yeah, the funny thing, I'll pull back the curtain. So the promo that I cut with Witt, that was a credit to Witt and Kaiser both reaching out to me and seeing if I was going to do something. They were awesome to work with. My voice is low, not intentionally. There was an issue with my mic that nobody realized. They probably realized it. Witt had never talked to me before live. We'd traded emails and DMs and stuff. So I guess he thought that's just the weird way that I sounded. I didn't know that it had messed up like that until I saw the final cut. And I was like, well, shit, it's too late now. So, yeah, but it worked for the story. But I would say I tapped in mostly to my time as a prosecutor, because you want that sort of that killer mentality when you're there. The jury, unlike the jury in a civilian trial, they're all senior military folks, most of which with multiple combat tours. You stand there and it's not uncommon to see somebody, you could tell what they've done just by what's on their chest. With 1 or 2 Purple Hearts, Bronze Star for Valor, something like that. So people that have really seen some stuff and have done some stuff. And the moment that they think you're the weaker party, they're not going to listen to you. They don't care what you have to say. They're going to take everything that you argue with a grain of salt. So you really have to come out there strong. And you're not trying to intimidate the jury, but you're like, you need to buy what I'm selling and believe the things that I'm doing. And I need you looking at me through this whole trial and trusting that I'm delivering to you, the facts that you can believe. So that's sort of the mentality, that killer mentality. I prosecuted for an armor brigade combat team. So tanks and Bradleys and stuff. And, so it's all combat troops. And like the way that I presented myself to the commanders was like, I'm that fire axe that's behind the glass when shit gets like you break the glass, you pull me out and send me in, when you've got a case to try. So that's the mentality that I take here. When I come into a match, it's, that fire axe has been pulled out and it's time to chop the wood.
So first, I want to say, speaking of being a visual person and being an expert at the game, just wanted to give you props that when I was looking at your board, I don't think I really seen anybody else put how many GTEs they have left on their board, and I just thought that was genius. So
yeah, I track wits. I mean, I don't care about revealing this. That people need to know that I know how many JTs you have left. I know if you've burned your challenge. If you see me like writing stuff or like looking down, I've got a pad of paper and I was marking off his JTEs, just jotting down the score real quick so I don't have to listen to the chatter about it or watch the chat. So yeah, I process data that way. That's what helps keep me focused, I think.
Okay, so my question for you is just about like both coming into the season and even now, people talk about the Dragon Con winners. Do you think like it's fair that people, kind of lump you all together, like both either for you or for them?
Yeah, the clip with Alex during the promo that Nerd Chronic cut is accurate. Like he created his entire YouTube channel. He's won the competition once. I don't have any more of a stake as like the Dragon Con guy than anybody else. I've got more wins than any like Burkett or Damon but that's like by one. So it's like it's like the Super Bowl, like the Super Bowl in the NFL. Like you can have a really good team take the Chiefs from this past year. You might not know it by how they played in that game, but they're a hell of a team, and you just don't see, maybe aside from the Patriots, runs and dominance in that game like you do in other sports championship games. And so that's what I would liken it to. So they're all, I know where I think I stand compared to the other two Dragon Con players, but I think the hype is, and how people talk about us is fair in terms of lumping us together.
Bonjour, Mr. Harper. How you doing, bro?
Frenchie, how's it going?
I'm going good. Hoping the Habs would have a better season right now, but it is what it is. But yeah, again, piggybacking off of what they're saying, your game IQ is bonkers, bro. You are outside the box. And do you realize you're going to change the game? Like Smets did with his studying, the way you're playing, the JTEs, the boards. Do you realize right now what you're doing is probably going to change the whole season?
No, I mean that I appreciate you saying that. I honestly thought, I was a little disappointed that people weren't like, oh, he had some cool patches on the back of his board. Like my wife is like, I created the back of the board. My wife is like, that looks like shit. Like you need to redo that. That looks terrible. And so she helped me out. And so that was like
We're
a little
just happy
pet project.
You have a whiteboard compared to some people.
Yeah, but it was funny because like I knew I was going to play with it, and it like kind of like threw, like, you don't have to have your board. I was like, okay, yeah, I know. Kind of like Ricky Bobby, like, what am I supposed to do with my hands if I don't have that in it? And I think you see it from players. I think it's a distraction for some other players not having something in their hands, and you've got to have them up on the screen. You see like a lot of hand rubbing. People don't know what to do with them. I think it's a distraction, quite frankly. Peggy's seen like all the patches that I own on the back of the board, but yeah, I mean, I think Oyama is the only player that I've seen keep the whiteboard throughout, and I know we're not the only. I assume that's because he's a visual guy like I am. If other people adopt that, that's cool. I won't claim credit for it because Oyama's done it before I have, but
I like to just point out, don't forget William Bibiani and his pet tiger Fabian every time if he's not answering questions.
I was about to chime in, but then he said I'm the only one that wears the whiteboard. I'm like, oh, I should shut that up.
But yeah, you're for someone who has been watching it for like 8 years now. You seem like someone who's just made for Schmoedown. That really like soaks it in. But does that add more pressure to you? Because you're so good on it?
No, I think the thing that annoyed me, if there was anything that annoyed me before the season started, there was a lot of talk about well, Dragon Con players know Dragon Con, but they've never played the Schmoedown. And I was like, did you really think that I was going to come into this game and not know it and probably know it better than you? Like, come on now. Like, you, I'm a nice guy, but like, you know my background. I'm going to walk it. You give me a rule book. Like, that was the best email that I had ever gotten, was a 15-page rule book to review. That, you know, that's just who I am. Like, both my jobs in the civilian life, both for the Red Cross and for the Army, revolve around knowing rules and you know, knowing them better than other people. So the idea that I was going to walk in and fumble around and not know stuff, it was just kind of laughable to me. And I'm glad that I put that to you know, to rest. And I think it shows. I would point you, anybody that questions the value of that stuff, look to the championship match. Like, I love Alex Damon, but he got caught off guard, I think, and I think he would admit this if he was being honest. But when Christian turned to him and said, "What's your rebuttal?" It kind of caught him off guard. It was almost like he didn't want to talk his way into a wrong answer. But the rule book specifically states, if you look in the challenge portion, there's a 15-second rebuttal that's afforded. You don't have to take it, but you get to make an argument. And you know, it kind of threw him. That's the first time I think I had seen Christian go to the non-challenger for the rebuttal like that this season. But it's there. You got to be prepped for it. Like, why wouldn't you take that time? I mean, I intentionally didn't give a rebuttal in mine, you know, for certain reasons. But you know, you got to know that stuff. You got to know the nuances if you're going to play it. Mm-hmm. And in Star Wars, like, it's a game of inches. If that's the edge, if I get the edge over you because I know the rules a little bit better and I can maneuver, you know, so be it.
Absolutely. Man, I got to tell you, I'm torn in 4 different. Oh, did you have something else, Frenchie?
No. Go ahead. I just want to chime in 2 seconds. Technically, I shouldn't even be on here, so I'll go away.
Oh, Frenchie, we love him. That's our producer, who actually from Schmoes of the North. So be sure and check them out as well if you're not already.
Great show
over there. But dude, I'm torn four ways this season in the Star Wars division. Emotionally, I love seeing Demolanta with the belt and with his family. It hits me, dude. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great story.
As far as competition, it's been amazing seeing Damon's title run and no one being able to dethrone him for so long until Demolanta just did. Personally, I've been a Laura Kelly shill for 3 years now, so
rightfully so.
Level, I want her to be champion, but then there's like the reality, and I've got to be honest with myself, and the hype around you, at least so far, was absolutely justified. And after seeing your first match, man, a big part of me honestly thinks that you're going to end up being the title holder and that you will go on a Damon type run with it. So I'm being drawn and quartered here, dude. I love it. I love it so much. But I do want to ask you real quick. Now, we've talked a little bit in the past about whether or not it's a benefit for Dragon Con, who has all of canon included, or Schmoedown, which is just the movies. Now, after your training that you've done after joining Schmoedown and having played this first match, some of the people who are not Dragon Con, I've heard say that they think it's a disadvantage for the Dragon Con because the folks in Schmoedown have been so finely narrowed on the movies. And I've heard Dragon Con folks say the opposite. What's your opinion on that right there? Do you think it's an advantage, a disadvantage, or maybe just depends on who the player is?
I'll be honest with you guys. I think it's the non-Dragon Con players saying that sort of thing. That's like a warm blanket that I'm glad that they've held on to, you know, something to make yourself feel better about the comparative knowledge. I'll tell you that the moment that this division expands, if it ever does, you're going to see a releveling, and the scales are going to tip in, you know, quite frankly, in the favor of players that have been immersed in that sort of thing and have done trivia in that sort of way. And it's not just, I mean, Gold Leader would be a good example. He's like, Evan's played trivia that's not limited to the movies before. So I think there's a natural advantage there. But for me, I came into this not not ready to ride on any of those coattails. And I'll tell you, I completely rebuilt my study regimen and how I approach this stuff. So I have enough reverence for the game to not walk in and think that, okay, well, just because I played, football in Canada, now I can play football in the NFL. I know the mechanics and it's one-to-one translatable. It's not like that for me. I rebuilt it. It's been a challenge to adjust my mind and watch the movie in different ways. But, I think at the end of the day, that extra knowledge helps. Again, I'll give you an example. We'll treat this like another exhibit in a trial. Look back to the Ace Demolanta match in back in December at the Spectacular. I guarantee you that Damon knew all of those really, really deep cut questions that were giving Ace some trouble. And that's not a knock on Ace at all. Those are legit. Those are like 10-pointer questions. Some of the ones that the one that jumps out to me is the one he dropped down to in round 2, the solo question about the major that gets blown up on Mimban. That's like a 10-pointer, 12-pointer. But that's the kind of question you've got to be prepped and ready for in round 1 of Dragon Con. And so I think in those terms, when you're really and those are the questions that are going to tilt the balance and really determine a game sometimes. You're not going to see Dragon Con players or folks with that sort of outside knowledge slip on a question like that. And I think that's an advantage that we have just inherently.
Yeah.
So
definitely going to be interesting to see it as it goes forward, and especially if they do expand it. Who knows? Good. You're going to stick around with us for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be really interesting, especially once you when you begin that long expansion into the TV series, which is basically the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian. I mean, that'll be that, and I don't know, and even Rebels as well. I mean, that's going to be could really change the tide, especially for some of the competitors.
If it happens, hey, look, you don't have to wait very long. Look on May 4th in the FCL. Yep. They're having a Star Wars exhibition with the Mandalorian as fair game. Oh, wow. So I'm very curious. I told Kate, I was like, why don't you just cut me for a day and then you can re-sign me immediately and just let me go weigh in on that exhibition. She declined, but
yeah. I think that would allow correction.
No, I mean, I don't know what the division holds. I would say at the same time, they haven't fully tapped these movies. I mean, as I study, there are just large veins of information that they haven't tapped, just scenes that they haven't asked a certain way or questioned a certain way. So I'm not sitting here saying that the PJ and his team can't come up with more like torturous questions to put us through the ringer, because they absolutely can. But I think it'd be cool to see open it up a little bit, or my personal vote, because I understand the argument about TV shows and that stuff. Spice up the wheel. Take some of those traditional round 3 categories that really make it fun, like Jedi Order, weapons, vehicles, and technology, planets. Make those available wheel slices and start to make it look a little more like singles, where you've got to have sort of the Bateman mentality, like, what's my opponent good in? What are their weaknesses? What are my strengths and weaknesses? Do we start to see a division where Star Wars players can choose a couple wheel slices and play off that? I think that'd be cool to see.
We're actually
that'd be really interesting.
Sorry, Thomas. Were you?
I was gonna say, I mean, that'd be really interesting to see, especially if we get those round 3 questions on the wheel. I mean, that's probably what I might have to lean towards on.
I don't want to answer all of them. I'm just saying, like, that'd be fun, but it'd be like cruel and unusual punishment as you're sitting there getting put through the ringer.
We're actually seeing that with IG, because there was never a Superman category,
right?
But that was specifically DC. So I think as we get further, maybe as soon as next year, we're going to start seeing that actually happening in Star Wars.
I'd be all for it. I think IG. I was a fan of IG last year and the year before when I started watching. But I think you've seen a releveling in that division that's really made it fun. I think you saw it right out of the gate, the value of it in the championship match, like that phenomenal showdown with Mara and Chandru, and you've seen it in every single match since then. It's just like, it's exciting, and I pop into Reddit and stuff and read, and it's just like people are excited to see these new areas. It's like finally some unexplored territory that hasn't been drilled down on. So I'm all for bringing a little of that to Star Wars.
Have you considered? Well, I mean, I know it's so extremely early. You've probably not thought about this, but maybe you have. Have you thought about maybe expanding into a second division next season, an Intergeekdom or something like that? Maybe?
If you saw me play along with singles, you wouldn't even want me in the FCL. I will sit there. I love to watch it, and my wife and I have started like watching together the singles matches. Like that's become like a new fun part of the week. But she just clobbers me like Kate would cut me immediately as a singles player. IG would be a tough road, I think, particularly because the expanded category, I think there's like 300 movies or something like that right now.
Yep.
And watching the skill level, like the Damon Barbarian match, I'm just like, did we watch the same movie? Like I've seen some of these movies dozens of times and I feel like I've never seen them before. It must be like what some people feel like when they watch the Star Wars division. Because like, I guess I've never seen Star Trek before because I have no clue where any of this is. So yeah, we'll see. My focus is on Star Wars right now. I mean, I've got a big mountain to climb, and one win, in my opinion, is ultimately meaningless if I can't keep performing. So that'll be my focus for the time being.
Okay, I'll X you off my free for all list.
Yeah, you're not going to see me there. I'll spoil that right now.
Yeah, I don't think any like pure IG and Star Wars competitors are going to be in the free for all. I think that's a given. I kind of knew that like maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. I'd have questioned Kate's decision if she had tried to tap me for that. Like, did you hit your head?
I still predict Parker is going to be in because he in the fan leagues he was good in singles, so you never know.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking maybe Hannah, but anyway.
Well, Hannah was in teams, and teams
right.
is kind of similar to
that's why I was But anyway, so you get drafted. I see Peggy in the chat. Do you have any? Do you remember your first impression of meeting Saul?
So Saul I was really excited to get to know him, and he's the exact kind of like battering ram personality that you would expect in a really good way. We had an Iron Man session the other night, and he was just sending pictures like, I'm bringing the heat tonight. Like, just get ready for it. Like, he's that intense about everything, and I really love it. And he stepped up from day one and approached the faction and approached Lacey and I as somebody who is going to be an informal leader, an informal bench coach for us. And he's been really invaluable. And that goes beyond just like quizzing and stuff. It's just, he has a knowledge of the game that's great. I've talked strategy with him. I've talked just general life stuff with him. And he's one of the most supportive people that you can get. I think he would, he'll scream at you one day, but he'll give you the shirt off his back at any given moment. And you can't ask for a better teammate than that.
It's awesome.
I don't want to make him angry though, so I'll say that.
I love him so much, and I'm not going to get on his nerves by telling. I'm not going to get on his nerves by telling everyone that I have his phone number. So I will not do that because he hates it when I say that. But actually, for the last 10 minutes here, let's talk a little bit about those cutscenes. We got to talk about those, man, because Jay Washington is back. Chandra, well, first let's start with Chandra, Jay, and then Grace came in. So Grace is definitely she's got a lot up her sleeve, but I don't know. I was shocked. I was kind of shocked that it made the turn where this what should we call this coup didn't end up going through. I was shocked. I just, what is going on, guys? But that just sets it up for something bigger with Jay.
Yeah, I was definitely last week, a couple of weeks ago, whatever we talked about it. I was happy that Winston just kind of bitch slapped everybody and fall back in line. But I was disappointed that we didn't get a uprising with Jay leading the charge. But I am happy that was kind of rectified this week because I planned this all along. I knew this was gonna happen, and I'm like, okay, I'm happy now. It's like getting having something bad, but you have a whole lot of sugar in it. It's like it tastes bad, but the sugar kicks in, and now I'm happy.
Well said.
Let me just say that I don't know, stripping Clark Wolf of her commissioner title and giving it to Jay Washington, not personally my favorite move.
Not mine either.
I don't know. It's my favorite move to have Clark back behind the desk. So if that's what causes that to happen, I'm for it.
Yeah, I'll be happy to actually see Clark again more because that's the bad thing about COVID. Well, one of the bad things about COVID is we didn't get to see Clark in the cutscenes, and we didn't see more of her. So now that she's going to be at the desk, it'd be interesting to see if Andrew Guy and Clark Wolf are at the desk at the same time.
Outside of storylines, I'm really excited to see what Clark Wolf can do behind the desk especially if she teams up with Andrew Guy, or I don't know, if Andrew Guy teams up with Mark Ellis, see how that fares out.
Yeah.
That would really test the limits of my ability to box people out and pay attention at that point. But I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's calling your Star Wars matches.
I'm not sure, as far with you being a competitor, Thomas, I'm not sure how much you're allowed to talk about storyline kind of stuff, even if it doesn't involve you.
I mean, I will say as a fan, I love this civil war, if you will, and I was so glad to see that. I know you guys already talked about this, but I was so glad to see Winston kind of step in and assert control and basically put his foot down. Like that moment with Laura and Chandru was like one of my favorite cutscene moments. It was like, I don't know. I felt like my tail was between my legs, and I'm not involved in any of that. But I love the idea because it fits so well with this overall like war narrative. But you've got this like fracture within the faction, and I love everybody on Swag, but I'm perfectly happy seeing them relegated right now down to the bottom, so they can keep fighting all they want.
So do you think if you said Rise of Skywalker and Guy was on the desk and was 2017 Guy and said what's that, whether or not you break, or like
I want to see him call, like I want to see that wheel slice come up and him not have a clue what it is, and then be asking the questions as if he's reading Mandarin, like what is this? Priceless.
And then, well, speaking of Guy, Ellis crushed it in that scene, and he barely did anything. Oh, so amazing, dude.
I don't believe that was Mark Ellis. That was not Mark Ellis. Mark Ellis, he does know how to read, but he doesn't read. So why is he reading a book?
It looked like it might have been a picture book.
Yeah, I think it's like a Van Halen book, maybe.
Yeah, but he doesn't read. He admitted multiple times, I don't read. I rather watch the movie and watch the TV show. I'm like, I don't believe that's Mark Ellis. Because he's just opening a book. I'm like, bullshit. Oh,
man. And let's not discount the amazing appearance that Molly made. Molly the dog.
Not caring. Just looking at her back. I love that dog. She's so cute.
I am going to jump back though. Something else with as far as Clark being on the table. I know Frenchie and I have talked about this, and I've had conversations with a couple other people about what are the chances that Christian is going to be gradually stepping away from the desk and exclusively working behind the scenes. What is she gonna call? Like, is it gonna be her and Ellis? Is she maybe gonna start taking over for Ellis or for Harloff, or is I don't know. Where is she gonna run the desk at?
Yeah, that's my hope, is that both him and Guy and others will assist in kind of, because Christian just seems like there's a lot on his plate, and even if somebody was there more behind the scenes to do some of the things about bringing people in and on off screen, it would help with just the overload of things people have to do.
Yeah, I don't think people realize like exactly how many balls he has in the air. And because you see him and he's got this like poker face. You don't see, there's not a bead of sweat on him. He's not flinching at all. And you don't realize just how much he's doing. And so if he's able to I think you're going to have to rip him away from the desk. But if they manage to drag him away and he's able to focus his efforts, I mean, he's going to be able to do amazing things, whatever he's doing. So.
Yeah, I think maybe he might be on the behind the scenes because I think he needs to be there just to make sure everything is like following the rules. Like if there's a challenge, someone needs to make a final call. So I think maybe he might be behind the scenes if it's like Clark and Guy at the desk, just so like everything's okay. But yeah, I definitely agree that he probably we don't see everything he does because I've been in a situation where I was literally going 20 different ways and it was stressful to a point where I would definitely crack him with pressure, and I have cracked him with pressure. So if he's stone cold face and not be a sweat, I have to salute him. I have nothing but respect for him.
Let's take 3 minutes here. And just real quick is with Guy finding out that Grace is in contact with Guy and all that kind of stuff. Is Grace is she involved with the Schmoeminati, or is it too, or is she just a side thing? She's got her own thing going on while the Schmoeminati is doing their own thing. What do we think? Real quick, round the horn. ASG, what are your thoughts?
Well, she has to know that Guy has amnesia, right, or like something like that. In order
to know that,
yeah. So yeah, I'll say she's involved in some fashion.
Double D.
Yeah, she set his factory settings back to default. That's what happened. That's what happened. I think I'm going to have to say that. She pressed the button to send back to factory settings.
Thomas Harper.
I plead the fifth. I'll tell you that right now. So I might be in the Schmoeminati and I don't even know it, but I plead the fifth.
Just admitting he is running the Schmoeminati and has been from DragonCon this whole time. Tim Sim, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, of course, with Grace knowing that he had amnesia, and basically after talking to Guy, she was talking to someone else, basically of higher on the pecking order that he has joined up. Maybe she's involved in that. I mean, there's a good possibility after calling someone who she said that he's in.
I do
good point. Involved, but not the head.
I still like Ellis being behind it all. He's jealous of Christian and how everyone looks at Christian as the face of Schmoedown, and Christian's the creator of Schmoedown, when in fact, without Mark Ellis, they're really, and this is honest too, without Mark Ellis, the Schmoedown wouldn't be, and it wouldn't be where it is today. It was completely a joint effort. That's true, but for the sake of the storyline, I think that would be a great thing. Have Ellis is in charge of it all and just wants to clean house so he can run the show. But before we go into our plugs here real quick, I have a trivia question for you, Thomas Harper. A very poorly worded trivia question.
I only like poorly worded ones. So.
Behind you on your shelf is Darth Vader choking the fella, holding him up off the ground. What is that person's name that he is choking?
That's Ramus Antilles. And in fact, so back in the day in the 90s, I used to play this Star Wars customizable card game. And that scene like shook me when I first watched it, but they have a card that I have on display that's him getting choked up close. Physical choke is what it's called. And you could just play it and kill somebody in the game. And that's what hooked me on that card game as well. So poor Ramus Antilles will always be in his death throes behind me.
Well, now that you reach back there, we can't go with the green screen theory.
I know it's the rest of it. That one little shelf is real. Everything else is fake.
Thomas Harper, dude, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, this has been a blast.
For sticking around for our discussion as well. And you'll be back next week as a guest co-host with Kate Betty is also going to be a guest co-host next week. With our guest is Jess Schloth, which is one of your faction. Yep. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. So everyone be sure and tune in next week for that. But until then, why don't you tell folks where they can find you at, what you've got going on, Thomas?
Yeah, so you got my Twitter handle there. I mostly just rant about Y-Wings on Twitter. So if you're into Starfighters, then you can find me there. I've got I write and I podcast for the Legal Geeks. So it's at the Legal Geeks on Twitter. But it's a bunch of lawyers who are also real big nerds. And like I take Star Wars and analyze legal issues that you see. So like, were R2D2 and C3PO discriminated against when they got thrown out of the cantina? Like just stupid shit like that that we do. We've back when conventions were a thing, we'd go around and do like mock trials at conventions. But in a couple weeks, when Bad Batch airs or starts airing, I'll be leading a special segment of our podcast just dedicated to like legal issue, like exploring and unpacking those episodes. So it should be fun. But it's at the Legal Geeks.
Excellent. Sounds great. Thank you again, Thomas.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
Yeah, you'll be back next week, so everybody come back for that. Double D won't tell the folks where they can find you at, sir.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, simple at Daniel Dolinsky. Dan Dolinsky. You can find me here almost every Saturday. I'm not going to be here next Saturday because I'm getting my second vaccine shot. So I'll be back the following week.
Yeah, excellent. I was reading that comment by Peggy. Oh man. ASG, why don't you tell the folks where they can find you at, sir?
Yes, you can find me on the Let's Get Ready Network, letsgetreadynetwork.com, as well as the Gold Standard, which is the after show for the FCL that we have. And you'll probably also find me on we'll have a little after party for the free-for-all after the free-for-all.
Can I just say one thing? I've been a big fan of the Gold Standard so far. You guys are knocking it out of the park. Great job.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Tim Sim, thank you for being a guest co-host this week. Second time here. Thank you very much. Want to tell folks what you got going on and where they can find it at.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And you can find me on Twitter at Tim L Sim, where I just basically post, what I have in my mind, and as well as, interesting Schmoedown stuff. And also check on my, I do also the preview articles as well on the schmoedownlive.com. Basically got a huge week ahead with, not only just these 3 Schmoedown matches, but the huge free for all 4 that'll be coming up next Saturday, which is going to be really fun to see, especially after being away for 2 years because of this, situation we're in. And also on my YouTube channel, Timson, where I'm doing my own Schmoedown after show, The Insight, where I'll be having this month's episode coming up Monday, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And basically just going over the 2 amazing title matches that we had happen, especially with the recent one being Collins versus Merle 2. And then previewed the big free-for-all with special guest Frank Janis from the Schmoedown Rundown, Alex Mack from Call to Action, and the one and only Shug from Spin from the Real, where we definitely had a great time for over an hour discussing what we love about the free-for-all and what to expect at next Saturday's event. And I'm really excited to, have that ready and, show it to y'all Monday night.
Excellent. Sounds good. And you guys can find me on the Twitter and on stereo at JWade1134. That's the letter J, WADE 1134. And also this network, the Jcast Network, at the Jcast Network, rather, on the Twitter and the stereo. We will be back on stereo next week. Had an issue last week and an issue this week, but we got it sorted. Also, please sub to this channel, all that good stuff. Over on Schmoes of the North right now, starting right now, actually, so I'm going to shut up. Head on over there for Mount Schmoedown. I was on there last week and had a really great time talking about Mark Ellis's career, and today they are talking about Christian Harloff. So that will be excellent. So enough for me. Next week, we got a great show announcements coming to this channel, as well as Thomas Harper, Paige for Betty as guest co-host, and Jess Schloth as our guest. Everyone head over to Mount Schmoedown at Schmoes No Network, or Schmoes of the North. I'm sorry. Frenchie giving me that look. Schmoes of the North, everyone. Have a great.
Nice you plugged it in this week, Frenchie.
I don't know. You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.